Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule is in effect, brought to you by Hustler Casino. I am your co-host, Steve Kim, and I'm joined by our Belinda Carlisle, because like the Go-Go's, he needs a vacation. He won't be here next week. Mario Lopez.
I was like, where is this fool going with that? Hey, you're showing your age with those references, player. I appreciate it, though, because I'm of that generation. More on the wig later. We got to final flurry that wig. Quick shout out to Smoking Tim Frazier and
Tino on the edits. Another jam-packed show, the bout sheet for this week's episode. Ryan Garcia suspended. Then Viva El Divino. And then fight preview, fight review. And then we have Ask Mario. But first, we want to let you know that our fine program is sponsored by Hustler Casino, located just 15 minutes from downtown LA. Make sure to come by and play in the VIP Baccarat games for your chance to win a luxury designer gift every Thursday starting July 11th. There will be 3 prize drawings every Thursday at 4, 6, and 10 p.m. Play now to earn drawing tickets for a chance to win at Hustler Casino.
Round 1.
And so we begin round number 1, and the shoe dropped last Thursday, and it was made official on Friday by the New York State Athletic Commission. An agreement was reached between them and Ryan Garcia in the wake of testing positive for Osterin after his April 20th fight with Devin Haney, that he would be fined $10,000 and suspended 1 year retroactive to April 20th and a forfeiture of his $1.2 million purse. So, Mario, the question is very simple. Was this harsh or was this lenient?
I think it was. I hesitate because it could have been a lot worse, but it definitely wasn't lenient. It was somewhere in between because they're counting it as time served. Okay. So essentially, he'll be ready to go by next Cinco de Mayo weekend. He's really only missing 1 fight, potentially, if you're going by the schedule. So that's something. That's significant. But it could have been 2 years. I know a lot of people thought it might be 6 months, which would have worked out really well because it probably would have been 6 months anyway. But I think the New York State Athletic Commission can now hold their head up and be like, hey, listen, we weren't messing around. This is to be taken serious. A year's pretty significant. In talking with Oscar, who I know is going to release a statement soon too, in keeping him busy, I didn't realize that exhibitions, I should say, as I do the air quotes, could be still in play and not sanctioned. So I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's crossing over and maybe doing MMA or doing those sort of Mayweather type fights when you're fighting influencers and that sort of thing. I don't know exactly what that means. He's, I think, going to clear it up. We had to get off the phone. But if that's the case and he stays busy, and I'm sure they'll probably be lucrative, May will be here before you know it. And I don't know if it's a potential, and a lot of options, right? The potential rematch with Haney, what weight class is going to, a lot of questions to be asked, a lot of options out there. But at the end of the day, I don't think it is as bad as it could have been. And before you know it, I think May could be here around the corner. Now, of course, the question is, what will he do between then? We've seen my guy has really been living life and loving it.
He's going to save kids, isn't he?
Well, he's been a stand-up comic, and he's been playing poker, I think I saw. He's living his best life right now.
He's going to be Phil Ivey and Chris Rock.
There you go. He seems to be having a good time, but if these exhibitions do come to fruition, then what's the weight class? Who are we fighting? What are your thoughts when you hear that?
Here's the thing. If you start doing that, and I read in Dan Raphael's story that there is specific language that he's actually not allowed to do any combat sports in the United States.
Wait, but that seems like they're overstepping their boundaries.
No,
look, but if you think about it, right? Because they're just licensing a sanctioned professional boxing match, a prize fighting event. But if you're doing these quote exhibitions that aren't sanctioned, then why Why are you not? I don't see anything wrong with that.
Here's the thing. If you're the authorities, you might take that as you're trying to circumvent the disciplinary measures. Now, let me just say this.
Or are you just trying to make ends meet while you're trying to make ends meet while you're suspended?
Well, he has a lot of ways to make money. He's an influencer. So let me just say this. If it was Commissioner Kim running boxing, I've been on record as saying I would have gone 2 years. I do believe 1 year. It's not everything, but it's something, and it's certainly not nothing.
That's why I said it's kind of in the middle.
And the fact that both sides are a little bit unhappy, maybe that is the gray area. Maybe that's the compromise that makes everyone at least whole. Here's my view of it. If you would have gone 6 months and he still would have been eligible to fight by the end of 2024, again, that's like suspending the starting pitcher in baseball 5 games. What is really missed? In theory, if this is retroactive to April 20th and he clears a drug test and he makes himself eligible, look, he could possibly be missing 2 paydays. And with Ryan Garcia's tax bracket, along with the fine, that's a loss of at least $10 to $15 million. So there is a penalty. Now, this is what I was told by a very good source. And you could say it's unfair and you could say that it is maybe over-policing. The New York State Athletic Commission actually made it clear to Golden Boy that we are looking at the behavior of Ryan Garcia even after the fight. So all of the shenanigans, all of the things he did, I don't think played in his favor. Now, I was told that Golden Boy and Team Garcia, his team of lawyers, they all expected 6 months, while other people were speculating that this could be up to 2 years. So a year, it does seem kind of right. It does seem kind of fair in my view.
No, it does. A year seems that it not outrageous and something that all parties should be happy with, quite frankly, because like we said, it could have been a lot worse. I don't know if you can count his, not that I agree with the behavior, but if you can count his behavior as antics outside of the ring against him because of a failed drug test. I don't think that's fair. One has nothing to do with the other. Now, the shenanigans and the antics might have affected pay-per-view buys leading up to the event. People might say, well, this kid's not taking it serious, or what kind of circus am I buying into? It's going to be a hot mess. That might have affected that, and I'm speculating, but I could see that happening. But to punish him because of that, even though you may not agree with it, it doesn't seem fair because it has nothing to do with the crime committed.
Yeah, and point taken also, keep this in mind. He admitted to shrugging off the weight. He circumvented the weight. He didn't drop the last 3 pounds, right? And then he admitted it in tweets, actually crowed about it as like it was a great tactic, and then add to it the failed drug test. You stack those two together, one's bad. You put another one on top of it, I think the New York Commission may have felt this kid played us for a fool, and that we have to have a little bit more than a rubber stamp 6-month suspension, or we're going to be the patsies. And maybe they have to set a precedent. But I will say this, in other parts of the world, when guys get busted, it's 2, 3, 4 years. That's a real penalty.
No, that's a severe penalty. Well, we're not talking baseball here. This is
No, but I'm talking boxing. Amir Khan got 2 years for the same exact substance.
No, I know, but that's my point. I'm saying we're not talking baseball where the severity, we're talking guys can get killed. In this sport, so it should be severe. So he did get off, I think, a lot lighter than he could have. But I want to go back to your thoughts. You don't think he should be able to do any exhibitions?
No,
really,
I don't. Look, it's a suspension.
You're coming from the New York State Athletic Commission's point of view, as
I would look at that as like, this guy's playing with us. And when it comes back to relicensing, I would keep that in mind. That's just me. Even if he's not, there's a spirit of the law and there's the letter of the law. I think by doing that, I think he is breaking the spirit of the law. And I know a lot of people would disagree, and quite frankly, I don't care. But I also want to say this. Devin Haney suing for loss of value and wages, I don't know. That seems, it's like, hey, Devin, you need to know one thing. It was your team that allowed this to happen. You didn't force a second-day weigh-in. You were so arrogant and overconfident that you said it doesn't matter about the 3 pounds until it mattered. And there's the other thing. Keep your right hand up. So again, there are certain things where Devin, I feel for him, but there's other things like, you know what? You need to get better at actually from the technical aspect of boxing. It's not all on Ryan Garcia here.
I think he was going in there and fighting a fight that he normally wouldn't have had that approach or that strategy. I think he saw a kid that was not taking it serious, maybe was just fooling around and report some drinking in the party, and he was going to go in there and try to blast him out and stand a little toe-to-toe, and that was much to his demise.
Detriment.
Detriment. And I don't know if he'd have that same approach again, but I think in him, the way he's handling it now and with the dancing videos and this and that, I think people saw what they saw. So if he would just chill a little bit more and be a little bit more humble, I think it would bode well for him, because it's not like people aren't going to forget what they saw.
No. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
And the casual fan, they don't even know what the weight classes are.
Right.
They don't even care
And
about
by the way,
details.
it wasn't
they
just
really
3 pounds,
don't.
It was 3.5 pounds.
Yes.
And that's a lot.
It is. When you are cutting weight and you have issues. Now, in terms
Especially
of,
when you're less than 10% body fat, though, 3.5 pounds is a lot.
it's excruciating.
Yeah.
As for the pay-per-view, there were expectations that this thing was going to do 600,000-700,000, and it was going to be a boffo money maker at the box office. Here's the reality. I'm being told, and I trust this source, this thing did under 400,000. And that is why Devin and Ryan are both complaining about where's our money. Well, first of all, there's an accounting process. You're going to get your money. The caveat is this. You're not going to get the money you thought. And the reality is this. The way Ryan behaved for about 2.5, 3 months, it actually repelled a lot of people.
So you do think that was a
yes,
factor,
there's
for
no
sure.
doubt about it. If you are a casual fan, and
Because, but let me interrupt for a second. At the same time, someone could say, well, I want to see this train wreck. I want to see this. Maybe he thought in his mind he was, not that it was all by design, but that one could assume, well, this is going to be a disaster. I want to be, I want to tune in for that.
There is an argument for that, but it's a fine line between promoting and repelling. And all the way up to the fight, even after the weigh-in, you kind of didn't know, like, are we sure this fight's going to absolutely happen? In my view, Ryan Garcia is great at going viral, but even that comes at a price that if you give off the perception that you're really not right mentally, you don't make weight. There are certain fans that are hard lines that, I can't trust this event. I don't want to support it. And so the numbers are actually very, very muted. And so now I heard it's an issue with Golden Boy getting back to 1.2. People like Devin Haney are saying, well, wait a minute, I should get a piece of that. So this thing's become a mess.
I'm interested in that. Why does he have to pay back Golden Boy the 1.2 as opposed to the commission or Haney? I'm just curious that what was the justification behind that? Do you have any?
No, I really don't. It'd be great if someone from Golden Boy could speak out about it. But again, they're going to release a statement, and we'll go from there. But as for Ryan Garcia, it's going to be a year, we would think, and it's going to be really interesting to see how does he handle this free time, Mario, without the actual carrot at the end of the stick. Because no matter what he does in terms of his antics and his behavior, in theory, because he's a fighter, in the back of his mind, he's always thinking, okay, I got something to work for, I got something to train for, there's a goal in mind, that there's going to be a certain level of dedication and discipline. He's got a whole year of doing whatever he wants. This is going to be interesting.
See, it is going to be interesting because you figure a year, and realistically, even if you put in a good long camp, you start maybe 3 months out. So, okay, 9 months, right? Because then by the time you figure out your opponents, you got 9 months. That's a lot of time. And if you have discretionary income.
He already looks like he's 170 pounds.
Right. He's not missing too many meals.
I mean,
he's not missing too many meals.
When he was out there right next to Jimmy Butler at that big poker game at our fine sponsor, Hustler Casino.
Right. Who didn't look like too charmed by him.
Yeah, Jimmy had focus. Jimmy was just kind of looking straight ahead.
That was an eclectic group. Dan Bilzerian, Jimmy Butler,
Chris Eubank Jr.
Right, Chris Eubank Jr. Ninja. That the whole thing was like that was an eclectic group right there.
And it was clear that he was having some adult beverages, which puts on weight. I'm just telling you. I'm just like, this will be interesting. My prediction
the weight
is
class is going to be interesting.
He'll be a welterweight. When he comes back, it'll be above 140 pounds. Not saying he might not ever get back to junior welterweight. I've also heard that Devin Haney, in terms of him being the WBC champion and having to do that mandatory against Sandor Martin that nobody outside of Top Rank bid on, that's not going to matter. The WBC has already named him a champion in recess.
Right.
And I have heard from other people that Devin Haney is saying, I can't even make 140 for that amount of money. So
Right.
he now, for all intents and purposes, is at 147. So let's go through this scenario. 14 months from now, or 16 months from now, how much interest is there in Garcia Haney 2?
I think a lot considering the circumstances. I do. I think if you can make that fight Cinco de Mayo weekend, I think it does, ironically, do big box office. I think you make it at welterweight. Both fighters probably would appreciate that. And look, Brian, you'd have to put some clauses in there about weight.
You mean welterweight, give or take a few 3 pounds?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You'd have to put some clauses in there. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with the next day weigh-in, but if you put a clause in there, having to make the weight, severe penalties if you miss a pound over or what have you. I think it does do big business. You don't think it would Cinco de Mayo
absolutely.
weekend?
No, any weekend.
Right, but I'm saying, but particularly that weekend, because that's, well, you got to wait that long anyway. Might as well do it on a holiday weekend a week or two later.
And this is a grudge match. And you know, one of the things they did really fight over in terms of negotiations, VADA has to do the drug testing. You think Ryan Garcia would agree to VADA after all he said? I mean, there are so many issues to clear, and then they'd say, well, I won the fight, and then Devin could say, no, I'm still undefeated. That's a no contest.
That's going to be interesting with the negotiation when it comes. But at the end of the day, they need each other if they want to get paid handsomely, and it's still a big event. But a welterweight will be interesting to see both those guys there.
All right, well, that's it for round number 1 of the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino. We come back, fight review and fight preview coming up next.
Catch it streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by way, you get 10 grand.
Fucking straddle!
For my fans!
Why? I read it twice!
Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving!
Raise it up.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule. We just want you to know, if you'd like to get involved with the 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor our show, we still have some spots available. Email at info@boxbid.io. Boxbid.io platform is now live. Boxbid.io will be having a casino night, a charity event this coming Friday the 28th at the Muhammad Ali Museum in Miami, Florida. Come enjoy drinks, food, and live music for a great cause. All proceeds will benefit La Cocina de Kima. If you are a 3 Knockdown Rule listener, mention this ad and attend for free.
Review preview.
All right, fight review. Friday night on ESPN Plus, brought to you by Top Rank from the Fontainebleau in Las Vegas for the WBO featherweight title. Rafael Espinoza chops up Sergio Chirino in 4. Mario, I'm going to say this right now. I don't know if he's the best 26-pounder in the world. I think he's the most difficult stylistic matchup.
I think he is.
Ooh, really?
Listen, first of all, that's a hot division. But because of his height, length, boxing ability, IQ, toughness, he poses the most difficult threat, I think, to any featherweight out there. And there's some talented ones. But if I put my money on him, I think you'd have to favor him in any matchup, even though it would be a tight matchup. Who would you favor? Who would you favor opposite him?
Okay, with that being said, let me just go do the list here. Ring Magazine.
He looked great. And mind you, this is because he looked so damn good in this last one, too.
Look, there is a theory that when you win a title, certain fighters get 33, 40% better.
And he looked like he got about 70% of even better.
Yeah,
That
he
was
had a
nice.
certain aura about him.
Yes.
So let's keep this in mind. Coming to last weekend, Ring Magazine had him at number 6 at featherweight. Ahead of him were guys like Venado Lopez, who has a longer track record, Ray Vargas, Nick Wrecking Ball, and then Brandon Figueroa. Now, everything you talked about, 6'1", he, to me, is the featherweight Fundura, but with more torque and explosion on his punches.
And works on the inside beautifully, too, just like Fundura. Yeah.
He does an unbelievable job of shortening his punches and making them compact. It's very Diego Corrales-esque.
He does that nice uppercut. He sets up with the jab. He lowers that shoulder, and the way he just kind of turns and pivots and hits, he puts his punches together nice, man. And the kid is he's looking really good. I really like this weight class right now. And I liked how Shushu was out in the audience. That's another great. But I got to say, at the moment, based on how he looked this last weekend, to me, he's number 1 at featherweight right now. Would you disagree?
Number 1.
Would you disagree?
Based on the track record, which is important, Venado Lopez makes a case.
He
That's
makes
all
a
I'm saying.
case, but Venado, to me, I look at Venado, and I like Venado, but I feel like there's moments he looks vulnerable, that where he can get exposed, as that, and I'm being meticulous and splitting hairs here, whereas I feel like Rafa could capitalize on a lot of that. They're both exciting, great fighters, but if I was a betting man, I think at the moment I'd have to bet on Rafa.
Yeah, here's the other issue. They're going to do a rematch, I believe, with Robesi Ramirez. Now, look, they had an unbelievable fight last December.
Fight of the year.
Maybe fight of the year. That fight was this close to being stopped in round 5 or 6 when Jirafa got toppled. So keep that in mind. He's not completely unbeatable here. I love the development.
No, I didn't know. I did no, but look at that. See, to me though, that just showed the heart, the courage, the levels he's got to be able to handle adversity, come back, rally, put on his big boy pants, and close out the show against a very talented, well-schooled individual. I think he comes back, and I think it's an even more impressive showing now in the rematch.
Chirino's a tough guy, but on this night, starting in round number 1 with that knockdown, he is that guy that was next to a helicopter with the propellers going, and he kept putting his hand in his head in the way, and I'm thinking, bro, you better either find a pathway all the way inside or all the way outside. He kept getting caught right in the mid-range. He didn't even see most of those punches coming. He really didn't. By the time he hit the canvas, he had this look like, what the hell did I just get hit with?
Yeah.
And that is the thing about Espinoza. He does not fight tall. He actually knows how to kind of make himself really small on the inside, and he explodes. That's the difference between him and Fundura. Fundura was what I call a momentum fighter. Comes at you in waves, but this guy has a little bit more snap and torque on his punches.
I agree.
Which makes him very, very dangerous. And I just want to say one thing. In the co-feature, Andres Cortez won a unanimous decision over Abraham Supernova. Nuts and bolts, Nova was screwed. Bad decision. I'm just going to say I strongly disagree with it, and Abraham Nova still has the best mascot in all of boxing. Abraham, I hope you keep going. I thought you won that fight. Mario, big weekend of fights on Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, check your local listings and set your DVR. The main event of the night, far as I'm concerned, Saturday night, brought to you by Matchroom Boxing on the Zone from the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona. For the WBC Super Flyweight title of the world, Bam Rodriguez takes on Juan Francisco Estrada, a future Hall of Famer. Ooh. Mario, you know how I always say activity matters? And for about the last 2-3 years, there's been a trend of really good fighters facing other elite guys, taking more than a year off, getting absolutely smashed in fights. Estrada has not fought since his third fight against Chocolatito in December of 2022. Uh-oh.
I know. Well, look, he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. But again, you got to stay sharp. Bam has been on a roll. And this is going to be a great fight. I can't wait for that fight. And it's unfortunate that we got to split time with the Teofimo fight. But hopefully they won't overlap and we'll be able to catch them. But it's a good thing about streaming. You can always go back.
One thing about Bam, he's been consistent, he's been steady, he is a sharpened blade, and he's focused, and if you look at what he's done, since the time he went on 6 days' notice and said, I'm going to take on Carlos Cuadras because I want to go places in my life, all he's basically faced is tough guys.
Yeah.
And the way he broke down Sonny Edwards last December, who's a slick boxer, and just overwhelmed him after round 4, here's the thing about Estrada. I didn't know this. Do you know he's 34?
Is that right?
He's a full decade older.
With a name like Bam, it just screams youth.
Well, he's no. Estrada's 34.
Or pardon me. Yes, Estrada. That's
Bam is 24.
Yeah, that's okay. Then with that name's more appropriate. Estrada, yeah, he's been around a minute. He's been around
44 and 3.
Yeah, so he's been around. He's still, because it was such a good fight too with Chocolatito. So you just think that, yeah, I guess 34 isn't the 34 of our generation either, though, bro.
But he still has 47 fights.
Yeah,
and again,
that's more the wear and tear.
At what point does rest become rust against a kid that has not had that many breaks? I know he could have fought in April or May, but he had a child, so he wanted to sit out. Okay, that's understandable. But I'm just going to tell you right now, I believe youth will be served. I know it's a great matchup on paper, but I'll go on the record that Bam's going to win the fight. The question is, will he win a fairly wide, convincing decision, or will he really make a statement by being able to stop him late? I like Bam in this fight. Pretty convincingly, too.
No, you got to lean towards Bam. What a resume, huh? So far for this young kid.
Yeah.
That's pretty,
Quadras, Secret-Setso Rungvisai,
Right.
Sonny Edwards.
Now Estrada. It's one of the more impressive ones.
And keep this in mind, he's actually moving back up to 115. That last fight, I believe, was at flyweight. So now, whatever struggles he had in making 112, guess what? Now he gets a 3-pound buffer.
That's a lot.
Everything, in my view, and I could be wrong, I've been wrong many times, everything to me kind of indicates that once again, Bam Rodriguez is going to put on another spectacular performance and really etch his name on that pound-for-pound list. When we talk about who's really pound for pound, we don't talk about Bam enough because he's a smaller guy, but he is going to be a staple on those lists. And you talked about this from Miami, Florida on ESPN, presented by Top Rank for the Junior Welterweight Championship of the World. Teofimo Lopez takes on Canadian tough guy Steve Claggett. Mario, is there any chance that we have another Kambosos moment?
Well, there's always a chance. That's what the fight game's all about. But Teofimo, if you've been keeping up with him on social, my guy looks in incredible shape. What a physique. He's already a strong fighter.
It looks like a gymnast.
He does.
Those muscles rippling everywhere.
Well, too, and he's very athletic. He's doing those backflips and all that stuff, so he's got gymnast-like qualities about him. But he's that rare combination of speed, power, athleticism, when his head's on right and focused. And mind you, a lot of it is just sort of reflexive, and he's working off a feel too. It's not even, I don't even know if he goes in there necessarily with a game plan. I've talked to him before, and he's I just kind of feel it out, try to get the timing, and just kind of go from there. So there's not really ever a
No, he's Bruce Lee. He's water.
Yeah, he's
whatever
water.
you do, he forms to that. That's what he does.
Pretty impressive. So assuming he gets past this Canadian Claggett in impressive fashion, what's the next move for him?
You know, we're going to talk about that later. This is the thing that upsets me, though. I know for a fact, based on the way the business works, he was presented a list of opponents, and they looked at Claggett as the path of least resistance or the best style. Because after that fight with Jermaine Ortiz, I believe that him and his father and his team said, okay, let's get a guy that's going to be there for us. But they could have fought Kenneth Sims, who's a really solid welterweight, junior welterweight contender, good wins. Could have fought Elvis Rodriguez, which is a very dangerous guy, right out of wild card, trained by Freddie Roach. Or he could have fought Raymond Mutataya, who's a guy that's going to one day be a multi-divisional champion.
I'm not mad at those, both Elvis or Mutataya, for his next fight, too. But what about the kid who just beat Subriel, Matias?
Liam Paro?
And
the issue is, and again, we're talking about network and promotional politics. Liam Paro was on the zone. I don't know what his promotional situation is, but I get the sense Matchroom's probably going to work with him. So is he willing, or is Matchroom willing to say, okay, let's work together, but then what network shows it? All I'm going to say is this. I wish Top Rank and Teofimo would have made more of an effort and say, you know what? Subriel Matias works for us because he pitches fastballs. You lost that opportunity.
Well, he tried, remember? And he got hurt, but Matias got hurt.
There was an issue there.
Right. I always said I liked him in that fight because you stand right in front of Teofimo, like fastballs right down
I'm
the
with you, but with all due respect, I think this Claggett fight will be pretty exciting, but it'll be one of those entertaining one-sided fights.
Well, we'll see.
We shall see, but again, I do think that next fight is going to be interesting. What move do they make? They specifically wanted him to fight early this year, in the summer, and to make sure he got a third fight. I think the third fight has to be something significant, Mario.
Something significant, I agree.
News and notes.
All right, moving on to news and notes. Mario, I love this move for Jack Catterall, who just fought several weeks ago, beating Josh Taylor in that grudge match.
That's another potential fight.
Okay, August 24th, Jack Catterall, El Gato, takes on Regis Prograis in Manchester, England. Co-op Live Arena. Prograis looked like he did not have any clue against Devin Haney. So, Mario, what type of chance does he have against this crafty southpaw?
Well, it's still a different style than Haney, too. He's crafty, but I don't feel he's as slick or as athletic as Haney. So we're going to see what he has left. And if he were to look good and win, he's right back in the mix. If not, then we don't know if he's maybe at this elite tier anymore. And I like Regis, and I wish him the best, but this is a really good fight.
Yeah, I was actually a little bit disappointed by the non-fight or the non-competitive nature of that fight with Devin Haney.
Right.
And so keep this in mind. Jack Catterall is number 4 by Ring Magazine. Regis Prograis is still number 8. So it's still a quality matchup. And Jack Catterall, to me, is a guy that's earned something. If he beats Prograis, and then he actually coming off the win against Josh Taylor, and the fact he's racked up a lot of victories, and to this day, I still thought he beat Josh Taylor, and he should be, by all accounts, the reigning lineal junior welterweight champion of the world. Here's the thing. Don't you think Catterall's style, with his movement and the fact he can actually offset a lot of the stuff Teofimo does, because he's not going to stand right in the pocket down the middle, that's not an easy fight for Teofimo.
That's not an easy fight. That's not an easy fight. Fight I'd like to see, but not an easy fight at all.
Moving on to the Ask Mario segment of the 3 Knockdown Rule. Here's one from Loco Mexican. Ask that pocho-looking ass Mario Lopez Viva.
Why gotta be pocho-looking ass?
How did he get involved in being in the music video Pocho by Coyote for Hire? Were you in that video?
Oh, yeah. Hey, shout out to my guys, Coyote, those guys, the Yotis, those guys are
What year
awesome.
was this?
I just did it, fool.
Oh, okay.
That was just this year. Those guys are hot. Mexican rappers right now. They did a song with Shaq that was hot. They did this one called Pocho. That's why he said that, so I get it now. And they asked me to be in the video, and it was great, man. And those guys are really coming up in the scene right now and do it a lot. So shout out to those guys because I really liked it.
To that, I say, órale.
Órale.
Here's one from Bob. If Teofimo is victorious this weekend, what's next? Claggett is not a bad opponent, but not the fight the fans wanted to see. Anything less than a top 5 lightweight opponent next is unacceptable. Regis is currently number 7, but would be boosted up with the win against Catterall. Maury, I have a question.
We were just talking about this.
Well, no, based on this, if you were the Lopez Network and you had a deal with any promoter, like Top Rank, when they have a deal with ESPN, and I actually asked someone, should there be a person that is the buffer, what Lou DiBella was at HBO under their leadership with Seth Abraham. Lou was basically the guy that actually green-lighted the fight or said, no, we're not doing it. Someone at Top Rank said, no, they shouldn't be doing that. I kind of disagree. You look at Top Rank, Claggett is okay, I guess. Haratunian actually lost his last fight, and he's fighting Shakur Stevenson. Do you think every network, whether they have an exclusive deal or not, needs to have their version of Lou DiBella to basically be the clearinghouse to say, we're going to accept this fight, we're going to give you some money, or do better? Yes.
The Lou DiBella era was a good era.
Yes, it was.
We had some great fights. He did an awesome job. If we could have a modern-day Lou DiBella and get some more matchups like that, and I think you give a great example that Top Rank could use one right now. Yeah, look, we're going to see where Teo's at, how good he looks against Claggett. I don't want to discount Claggett because it's a fight you never know. But if it is not an Elvis Rodriguez, a Murataya,
Kenneth Sims.
Yes, or even the winner of Regis Prograis
and Catterall.
Then there's going to be some questions. Or if they try to make Liam Pro, if it's not those fighters we just mentioned, then he's going to have a problem.
You know, one thing you can't overcome in boxing, in my view, when it comes to management of a fighter, is human nature. And if I'm the manager of Teofimo Lopez, out of those 4 names that were given, I would have chosen Claggett too. I'm not going to lie about it. But if I'm a manager, I'm always going to go for the most amount of money for the least amount of risk.
Right.
However, the Kim Network, we have standards. And I would say, well, here's the thing about your list. That guy can't be on it. That's the way it has to work. And I'm just kind of looking at this going, I don't know. And that's why, to be honest, most boxing fans have much more interest in the card in Phoenix than they do in Miami. That's the bottom line.
They need to take a page out of the UFC, whoever the next man up is.
Well, they have no choice. Dana just says, you want the fight or not? If not, get GTFOH.
That's exactly it. But I think if it's not one of the fighters we just mentioned, it's going to be a bad look.
Well, here's an interesting one from Hamed. What's a more interesting fight, Teofimo Lopez versus Terrence Crawford at 154, or Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez at 68?
Terrence Crawford versus Canelo at 68 is more interesting.
Why?
Because had Tio been clamoring for this fight, or there been some buzz, he's already been kind of sort of campaigning. He's going up in weight, and I'd love for Crawford to go up yet one more, assuming it's not an easy fight he's got on August 3rd, but assuming he's victorious, then I'd love to see him at 160 one time. And if he's victorious,
elevate.
Then against someone like that, and then if he beats someone at 160, a champ and a dream in my scenario, like a Janibek would be amazing, who seems to be the most avoided guy right now. Then I would want to see that. Teofimo hasn't made any sort of he's only been at 140.
Here's the problem with Teofimo talking about, I want to fight Crawford. They're ducking me.
If Crawford stayed at 47, I would love to see that fight.
Yeah, but here's the problem. As a WBO champion, you have the right to say, I'm the champion. I want to be the mandatory in the next division. He's never done that. Mm-hmm. That's where Teo says a lot of things, but here's the problem. Your actions do not match your words. How do you think Usyk got the title shot against Joshua? As a WBO champion, he petitioned and told Paco Valcárcel and his people, I'm the cruiserweight super champion. I want to be the number one for Joshua. See, words are okay. Actions are much better.
If he stayed at 147, that's a really good fight. Had he stayed, but now he's not staying at 47.
Well, speaking of which, Matty rolls. With Crawford's next fight looming and assuming he looks great in that fight, who would you like to see him fight next if Canelo fight does not come to pass? I think you said it. Janibek.
I would love to see him
If you beat Janibek, and I checked the ratings right now from Ring, Janibek, in a very light, kind of thin division, is number one at 160 currently. Now, look, Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones, and James Toney ain't walking through that door. But if you beat Madrimov at 54, and then you beat Janibek at 60, that fight with Canelo has a lot more legitimacy than it did 7-8 months ago.
Now people will be
clamoring
for that fight. That's exactly right. He's showing that he's climbing the division, beating the top guys, and then he deserves it at that point. I agree.
Derek Batista. This is a hypothetical, kind of a fantasy matchup here. Hey Mario, prime Hector Camacho versus Tank. Who wins and why? Ooh,
at 135.
Really, is at 130 is when Camacho was at his absolute best. Until Rosario gave him a reality check and he got Rosarioed. It was never the same.
You know what, though? Camacho had a really good chin. He had a really good chin. And he was tough before that. I mean, Camacho had the athletic ability and the legs and the hand speed to give you enough problems to steal enough rounds so he could have done. I mean, that's good. That's good. I think he could have pulled it off. I'm almost sort of leaning towards Tank because I feel he would have kind of closed the show. But because I remember when he fought Chavez too, and Chavez was beaten and hitting him with hard shots, and he beat him up, but he didn't take him out.
Neither did De La Hoya at 47.
Right, he's slick in there. So, that's a good one. It'd be a tough fight.
The Macho Man that I saw against Bazooka Limon as a kid on CBS, and that version of it pre-Rosario, in my view, would do enough to beat Tank. And that's not a knock on Tank, because I remember reading the stories and I remember some of the news features. When Sugar Ray Leonard had his first retirement with the detached retina, people actually thought Camacho was a guy to take over that mantle as the star of boxing. People forget how highly regarded he was. But when Chapo hit him a couple times and he said, I'm not going to be macho anymore, it was over. Mm-hmm. He really never was that same guy ever again. Here's a question from Fight Freak 913, Kevin the Trucker. Can His Excellency Turkey bring back Ryan Garcia to fight in Saudi Arabia, even if he's suspended in America?
Well, for an exhibition, I believe he can. So if that's the case, I'm all for it. I'm all for whatever draws more eyes to the sport, whatever creates buzz, and whatever is going to continue to pique interest for boxing. I'm all for that. Contrary to you, fucking bad judge.
Okay,
then, I would still for it, because I would like to circumvent all those. If he tries to go, I'd love for him to try it. Well, he did a pose. Hey, Dana, hit me up to Dana White, but that's not going to bode well for him. But if there was an exhibition, Turkey got involved, I'd see it.
Let me just say this as the bad guy here. Bad cop to your soft cop.
I'm not soft cop. I'm trying. He's still
soft.
honoring.
You're softer than a wet marshmallow.
That's not soft.
My God.
You wouldn't want to see it.
I mean, you're the
I
parent.
like the. I want to be a first. I want a first row to the circus.
You know what?
I like to see. I'd rubberneck when there's a car accident.
I am glad your
You know what I'm
wife
saying?
Courtney is a responsible human being, or your kids would be going to bed at midnight with ice cream for dinner every night. Because first of all,
you take one.
If
They say one
if
after
you
the
are
other.
Turkey a la Sheik and you're trying to make boxing a serious sport with structure and have it the same level of the NFL and NBA. I would just say, you know what? Serve your suspension and you can make some money later. But right now, to do that would be a bad look. The optics do not work, Mario. Sorry.
Listen, the question was asked, would I like to see it? Yes, I would like to see it. Because like I said, I like car wrecks. I like to see all that. I love the novelty
Well,
fights.
you don't think Ryan's a
love the
car wreck every day of his life?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I want to see what happens when he goes in there. And you'd see it too with your hypocrite ass.
No, I wouldn't.
You would.
I would. I have to.
You'd
It's
come
my
to my
job.
house
It's my
and
job.
you'd see it.
Well, don't
You
give
would-
yourself too much credit. I got other places to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's one
Eat the
from
chicken.
Abraham Gonzalez. This past weekend, it was great. I was wondering why certain networks were doing a marathon of this movie, but the Karate Kid celebrated their 40th year anniversary a few days ago. Do you remember the exact moment you watched it for the first time, and did you actually enjoy it right away, or did it take you a few times to start loving it?
First of all, I think the first time I watched it was actually on television. I didn't go to the theater. Did you go to the theater?
Yes. Man 6 in Valencia, California.
Dude, you're not that old, dude.
Yes,
Are you
I am.
that old, dude?
Oh, look at the hair.
Yeah, that's true.
there.
That's true. I thought we were around the same age. I think.
Well, first of all, we are.
I don't. Yeah, but I don't identify with your age. At first, I don't think I saw it in the theater. I'll be honest with you. I think the first time I saw it was on television, and of course, I loved it. It was like our generation's Rocky. It was awesome. And I can't believe it's been 40 years. And you know what? It holds up.
It does.
Dude.
I watch it every
holds up.
time.
The soundtrack is great. Daniel LaRusso is great. And it's funny, I post pictures of my son, Nico, and everybody's saying he looks like a young karate kid. And I'm like, yeah, that little fucker does actually when he's right there. He looks, and he's a really nice guy, Ralph Macho. I've interviewed him a bunch. He's a really nice guy.
We had a friend come over when I was in Valencia, California, family friend, and they had a son that was older than me, and they said, hey, you want to go to the movies with them? So we went to Man 6, which eventually became like Man 20 years later. And I remember watching it, and I enjoyed it, yes, right off the bat. And I tweeted about it because I watched a little bit
First of all, you
it.
didn't tweet shit because it was in
No,
1984.
I'm talking
You
this
didn't,
week. I'm talking
you didn't
this-
tweet anything.
No,
talk
I'm
about
talking
it.
this weekend.
Oh, this weekend, okay? Because you just said you went to the Man 6, then you said you tweeted about it. Well, you didn't tweet shit.
There's one
the
scene.
tequila hit you.
This
Go ahead.
one scene bothers me. Okay, and it's a great insult. Halloween party. He dresses up as the guy in the shower.
The shower, that was
all
good.
right. First of all,
He started that mess. He
didn't
didn't need to go mess with them.
Johnny.
He didn't need to go mess with
Johnny's
them.
minding his
He
own
asked him for it.
business, smoking a joint. He's rolling it up. You didn't have to do that. You're already
Right.
a marked man. And then he runs out of there,
Yeah.
and then Allie trips all the Cobra Kai because she's a team player. How slow is LaRusso? And here's the
He's
thing.
Italian. What do you want from him?
Right,
Breaking
but
his
he had a
balls.
500-yard head start. They all got tripped up. And then all of a sudden, you're wearing a Wes Chandler jersey, one of the great wide
Dude, Wes
receivers.
Chandler, Chargers.
Wes Chandler should be ashamed of himself. He should sue.
Dude, but he wasn't from that neighborhood. Those guys knew the shortcuts. That's how I took it.
No. And here's the other thing.
What do you mean? No.
That he did, but
Exactly, he
the
didn't
issue was, let's say he would have
He messed
climbed
with
the
it.
fence. Now they know where he lives. Oh my God!
They're waiting for. No, that was a stupid move
To go home.
there. No, it was a stupid move to
Yeah,
mess with them in the
right.
bathroom. They weren't messing with him at that point.
Right, and then
he caused a lot of.
And then
his
all of a
own,
sudden, Miyagi
trauma.
comes out like Spider-Man, and there's no way a guy that grew up in Okinawa was going to get beat up by a bunch of white guys with this karate stuff. That was a mismatch.
No, dude, and he was coming in like 5'2",
5'2",
with his 68-year-old ass.
I
Like,
mean, he was
really-
decking these guys.
Dude,
they had no shot.
It was
By the way,
great.
did you
ever see Cobra Kai the series?
I saw the first couple series. I binged them. I binged
seasons
them.
one, yes.
I kind of lost interest, but
They were good,
And
dude.
by the
They were
way,
good.
Karate Kid 2, pretty solid sequel. Had Tamlin Tomita. Had
Come
all right,
on,
Karate
I don't
Kid
know
3
about
jumped
that.
the shark.
No,
It jumped the shark.
It's all
with-
about one, dude. It's all
But
about
3
one.
jumped the shark.
I actually like Cobra Kai better than the rest of the movies. You know what other movie is turning 40 and they're having a sequel? Beverly Hills Cop.
Boo.
What you mean, boo?
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
What do you know? How do you know you're not a fan? You haven't even seen it.
I don't like any of these new things. The
It's not
remakes.
new. It's revisiting the old. You like nostalgia.
I don't know.
What you mean?
I don't know.
What you mean?
Not a fan.
Dude, Eddie Murphy's back, and I just interviewed Judge Reinhold. That fool looks the same. He looks, and he's
Really?
67. He looks great. So him, Eddie Murphy, freaking bulky, and then that other dude with the mustache who was his partner.
Oh, he's in it. I like him.
He's in it too, dude.
The gruff
He's in
guy
it
that
too.
had a heart of gold.
Yes, he was in Midnight Run too. He was in great, but that's also 40. That was a great year.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
That was a good year. It was a great movie, and they're doing the sequel. It's coming out on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, and yeah, July 3rd. So for 4th of July weekend. So I'm interested in checking that out too. I love revisiting these, but yeah, Karate Kid, man, there's just something about it. I don't care how many times I've seen it. Every time it comes on, it's like Shawshank Redemption.
All-time
You gotta
great
watch it.
soundtrack. You're the best around.
Great soundtrack. Great.
By
Cruel
the way,
Summer.
Cool. Oh, by the way, yeah,
Not
Cruel Summer.
Taylor Swift's Cruel Summer.
Cruel Summer, by the way,
Cruel
is
Summer.
not actually on the soundtrack.
Wait, why not? But it's in the movie.
Yeah, because there was an issue,
Are you sure?
rights issue with Bananarama, so I had to buy the Bananarama Greatest Hits to get Cruel Summer.
It's not on the soundtrack?
It's not.
But it's in the movie?
Yeah. And by the way,
wow.
Karate
That's a
Kid,
not so fun fact.
Karate Kid actually made golf and stuff into a thing.
Yeah, dude.
And by the way, from where they supposedly were, that's like an hour and a half from like the fancy school.
Dude, Elizabeth Shue is fine in that, and she
was pound for pound.
She looks still good now.
Pound for pound.
She looks good
so
right
the shoe
now.
fits?
Yeah.
Still.
Oh, God, dude.
All right, moving on to...
Final flurries.
Hey, you know what I wanted to ask you about? I forgot. What are your thoughts on J.J. Redick being the new Lakers coach?
Well, we're going into final flurries now. Wait and see. As a Laker fan in recess, I don't really care until a certain guy from Akron leaves our franchise.
He's like a coach killer. How many coaches we've had in the last? We had like 9 coaches.
They
or
last
something.
about 2 years.
But we've had something like 7 or 8 coaches, haven't we?
Yeah. So will JJ be a fad?
Oh,
that was supersonic,
dude. I know supersonic. I can appreciate it. I can appreciate it.
Could
so
it
we'll wait
work?
and see.
Let me just point this out. Pat Riley's coaching experience before he took over the Lakers was almost nothing. In fact, he was an announcer. The way he got the job is that Jerry Buss fires Westhead because he wasn't getting along with Magic. And at the press conference, they go, "Hey, Jerry, you're the new coach." Jerry West goes, "I don't want this job." He goes, "You know what? Pat, you be the coach." It's the most awkward thing ever. Worked out pretty good.
Pretty damn good. Steve Kerr also didn't have a lot of coaching experience.
So
Jason Kidd also didn't have a lot of coaching
question
experience.
is,
So we'll
given
see.
his relationship with a certain guy from Akron, can he actually coach him hard? That's the dynamic that has to work. And the Lakers do need another shooter because in today's game, they don't have enough snipers. And it shows up against the good teams. Now, you still have LeBron. You still have Anthony Davis. Those are 2 building blocks you could still win with. So it's an experiment. We shall see.
Does he draft his kid?
I think that's part of the deal, isn't it?
Wow, dude. I think that's going to turn off a lot of Lakers fans.
Yeah, you're talking to one right now. Talking to one right. I'm a Laker fan in recess. So as we transition into final, Mario, I read this on Twitter.
We've done transition.
Yeah, this is bad. I heard Hooters is closing down certain locations. Sources tell me that the profits went flat.
Dude,
Yeah, I went there.
I know. People just change the channel. What
happened to Hooters? That used to be a serious place.
I haven't been to a Hooters. I haven't even seen
Everyone
a Hooters.
loved their breasts.
Dude, you know where I used to go? There was a Hooters. Oh, calm down. There was a Hooters casino in Vegas, remember?
Right across the street from MGM Grand.
Yeah, that's right. Right across the street from the MGM Grand, the Hooters casino.
And they changed it about a decade ago.
That was the last time I think I was at the Hooters, was about a decade ago, and it was the casino. I can't tell you last time I was at the restaurant.
They had an airline for a while.
No.
They did, yeah.
They did?
They,
I messed around with the Hooters waitress for a while. I remember that.
You wouldn't
Megan,
mess
she was
around
fine.
with the modern
Oh,
ones.
my wife's not seen this. She was fine.
They kind of lowered the standards there, and I think that had a lot. They did.
This one was fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, I figured
I'm sure
that.
my wife doesn't look at this one. Now it just reminded me. That was the last Hooters. I'm just gonna be quiet.
Mario, I got to give myself a lot of credit and Tino. A couple weeks ago when we were waiting for Alexander
Tino, I don't know
Usyk to get here, or no, it was a couple weeks ago after that. I told Tim Frazier, as me and Tino had lunch, we went to the NBC Sports Grill downstairs, and I'm just going to tell you, their chicken Caesar salad is pound for pound.
Really?
I kind of mocked him at first on this because
you tried it?
So yesterday, a friend of mine from high school happened to be in town. He was at Universal. I came by. We met up there. I got the Caesar salad, and it is amazing.
Really?
Pound for pound quality. Me and Tino looked at each other. Tino, are you enjoying this as much as I am?
Wow.
There's a party in my mouth. I'm like, wow.
Yo.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay. I'm going to have to go check that out.
Yeah, not bad.
All right.
Not bad.
All right.
No, actually, elite.
Really?
Elite.
All right, I'm gonna check it out because usually I just do the little sushi joint, or the
No,
little
no,
Italian joint. I don't mess with the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
They got good drinks, but the Mexican food
Chicken
is better.
Caesar salad, NBC Sports Grill. Pretty damn good.
We might have to go hit up the mariscos this
Yes,
weekend.
órale.
In the birria.
Well, yeah, it's up to you.
Right there.
Just tell me what time.
I went, so I did, I do I noticed you have a 10 Goose
Yes, with
shirt.
our
That's a
boy
nice
Ricky
one.
Funes.
My boy Ricky Funes, he's my eating partner. So I go do the food reviews. People hit me up. They like those all the time. He has some good spots.
Yes.
Right there. He likes to eat like a lot like we do. We did this spot. I gotta post it this week. We went to this place, man. It had like 4 different kinds of chilaquiles. I love breakfast. So I love
Órale.
breakfast all the time. But and it had like have you ever had chilaquiles with mole? That shit was good. So, but it was like 4 different kinds of chilaquiles. Then it was a big steak, and then eggs on top of the steak. And that, dude, it was like a massive, like breakfast brunch kind of deal, and that was really good. Mexican place called I Love You Brunch.
I Love You Brunch.
That was the name of the Mexican place. And the dude's partners with Zurdo.
Oh.
Zurdo, come to find out. So I was like, all right, Zurdo's got some good taste.
So no
but
wonder-
I tripped out in the hood, the Mexican place.
No
I
wonder
Love
why
You
Zurdo
Brunch.
didn't make weight
That
by
was the-
17 pounds
Yeah,
that one
exactly.
fight.
He
Yeah,
likes-
I said it.
He likes to eat too.
Mario, you know what?
But hey, Funes and you got to watch
No.
all those food reviews
I
right
do.
there.
I love Ricky. I was at the 10 Goose on Saturday.
Yeah.
Mario, Bill Belichick.
Yo.
He's not coaching a team, but he's in a youth movement. How about that?
Yo, so Bill Belichick, he always looks disgruntled and he's never smiled. He's been smiling a lot lately. My guy's what, 71?
74. Isn't
74. Is he? No, I thought he was like, well, he looks every hour of his age. And he's dating this 24-year-old, and they've been dating for a couple years. That means he was hanging out with her when she was 22.
They met on a flight.
Was it a flight?
Yeah. They did.
Okay.
And they started talking.
I thought she was a cheerleader.
No, she's in cheer. No, but they met
No, she's
on
not
a
a
flight.
Patriots cheerleader?
No, I don't think she's a Patriot.
Oh.
a cheerleader and they met on a flight.
Yeah.
What's she, a high school cheerleader? What you mean? She's not a Patriots cheerleader?
She's like a NFL cheerleader.
Yeah, but not the Patriots.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure about that.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Hey,
that wouldn't be allowed.
good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
they don't want fraternization with the team. They don't. That's actually a rule.
right. I knew with the players, but I didn't know if staff factors in. Anyway, you know what? He's smiling a lot. He's happy. Good for him. It seems to be in the air right now because remember Anthony Kiedis, lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers? My guy's 61. He's dating a 19-year-old, but homegirl looks like she's 12 years old. I sent you that picture on the text thread. Yo, that one's creepy. And I like Anthony Kiedis. Big fight fan. I sat next to him 2 fights. I sat next to him during Fan Man. Remember when the guy in Caesar's Palace?
November of 1993.
Riddick Bowe and Evander
Holyfield,
Holyfield.
the second one.
93. That's when the Red Hot Chili Peppers were peaking
big.
in all their powers. They were huge. So he's super nice guy. Big fight. And I go, I think this motherfucker's going to land in the ring. And sure enough, he came.
James Miller.
Yes.
The fan man.
And I remember on the Farrakhan and the guys were there and they beat the crap out of him with a they had a helmet on. They knocked him out somehow with the helmet.
Good. He deserves it.
With the walkie-talkies. They beat him up with the walkie-talkies. Anyway, my guy's going out with a 19-year-old right now.
Good for him.
Okay, they're legal. Dennis Quaid, another guy. He looks great. He's 70 years old. He's got like a 21-year-old girlfriend. Little hottie right there. So there's something
De Niro.
going. Well, De Niro, yes, and he's having shorties out here with these, De Niro, Pacino. It goes on and on. So
I love these people that say, "What do they talk about?" And I said, honestly, hopefully nothing.
they're not. They're not doing a lot of talking. I don't think, but good for them.
So Mario, we are off next week. We're taking a short little hiatus.
That's
what is your
right.
vacation? What's going on here?
I never get a break. So I'm
No,
finally
get it. Yeah,
taking the
right.
no. And you know what? When you go with the family, you need a vacation from the vacation. We're going south of the border. We're gonna do a little Cabo. We're not doing Puerto Vallarta or Sayulita this time, or Punta Mita. We're doing a little Cabo trip, which is basically Palm Springs with a beach. So we'll be down there, and then I'll be back the next week after that. Tan, rested, and ready.
Yeah, so and when we come back on the 3 Knockdown Rule, we'll talk about Shakur Stevenson, what could be his farewell with Top Rank, and also Cameron William Zepeda in Ontario on July 6th. We'll have a full recap of that. All right, so we just want to let you know if you want to sponsor the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino, email us info@boxbid.io on behalf of Mario Lopez, Smokin' Tim Frazier, and Tino on the edits. This has been the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino.